Hello wonderful people, you're welcome back to my channel. Thank you for clicking on this video. So today I want to show us how to make this pocket. Yes, this outer pocket with facing. So I have actually made the upper part of the dress, which I have in the channel already. Yes, I have the video in the channel already. In case you haven't watched it, I'll leave the video link in the description box below. So this is the top part. Okay, is a bustier shirt, princess dark bustier shirt with buttons, okay, and collar. So I have made a video on how I made the top and the collar and button hole using manual sewing machine. So I'll leave all the links in the description box so that you can check them out after watching this video. So I'll put this aside and we'll cut the lower part, which would have the outer pockets. So I'll be cutting directly on my lining fabric. Yes, I'll drag the lower part on my lining fabric before transferring to the main fabric. So let's do just that. So if you're new to this channel, I say a very big welcome to you. Do well to join this wonderful family by subscribing. It is free. Just hit on the subscribe button and turn on the bell beside it so that whenever I upload a new video, you'll be among those that will be notified. Okay, so thank you for doing that. So I have cut out the lower part. It's just a line, okay, it's not really something difficult. So I just took the waist circumference, took the hip circumference, then the length of the lower part, which is 37 inches, because the total length of the gown is 54. I minus the upper part, which is 18, and the remaining I cut it down for the lower part. Okay, so this is the waist, the hip. So from the waist I added ease because it will be a bit free. Added ease to the hip measurement, 1 inch ease. Okay, then I connected from the waist to the lower part so that we'll have our A line. Okay, so the focus for this video is actually the making of the pocket. You can do the pocket for any style, be it a straight gown, or a free gown. So now let's go ahead cut our pocket. So I also reduce my lining by 1 inch so that I can use it to fold in the lower part, that is to hem it. So I'll take away my lining and I would take my fabric for the pocket. So I cut the back and the front together because there will not be zipper at the back because we already have button in front. Okay, so the back and the front I just folded and I cut them together. So I'll just remove one and we'll use the other one for the pockets. Okay, so I'll just take away one of this and we'll have this for our pocket. So now let me show you how to make the pockets. Okay, so now to cut the pocket, this is the waist line, and on this side I have the open parts. Okay, so our pocket will be by this side. So what I'll do now is to just take the measurements I'll be needing. So from the center waist, okay, would give a little space, a little gap. Okay, so let's see, about 5 inches is okay. From one side to the other, 5 inches is okay. So now I would mark at 5 inches. So we also need to consider our allowance. So I used 1 inch allowance. Okay, so 1 inch allowance, 1 inch is going off from this side. So I think let me make here 4 inches. So I'll make here 4 inches. Okay, yes, then from this point now I would come down by 8 inches, which is the hip measurement. So the pocket is getting towards the hip, so it can be above the hip or at the hip line. Okay, so I'm marking the hip line. So from this point now I'll connect to this point here, like so. You can just use your French curve or use your free hand and connect it. So you can just connect it with your free hand or you use your French curve, whichever. So all you need is just to make a curve from that point to this point. Okay, I'll have it like this. So you can actually design it whichever way you want. If you want it coming down a little bit, you can do it whichever way you want it. So but this is just okay. Now I'll go ahead and cut this out, but I would leave about half inch, okay, for joining the inner pocket. So I won't cut directly on this line. I'll just leave like half inch. Okay, I'll cut by half inch. So I'm marking on the wrong side of the fabric. So you see what I have here. Okay, now I want to design or mark out what the pocket would look like inside. So I want to mark out what the pocket would look like inside. So what I will do now, I can just open it up. But before that, I would mark the midpoint. This is the midpoint. So I'll open it up like this. So we have the inner pocket coming here and on this side. So and they would not jam each other. So we'll have to give little space from the midpoint here that I marked. So I'll take 1 inch on this side and 1 inch on this side. So each of the pocket will start from 1 inch from the midpoint. Okay, so from this point that I marked 1 inch, I'll decide how deep I want the pocket to be inside the dress. Okay, so I hope you can see this. So I'll decide how deep I want the pocket to be inside the dress. So from here, from this mark I made here, I can take about 6 inches. Okay, then from here to that point where I have 6 inches. So I'll just check what I have there by tracing it. So I have about 14 inches. So on this side, I will mark 14 inches. So let me just mark it out so that it will be clear to you. Okay, so this is just like sketching what the pocket would look like. So I'm marking on the wrong side of the fabric. Okay, so then I will now connect it to this side. So your pocket can be as deep as you like. So I think this should be okay. This should be okay. Okay, so this is what the pocket would look like inside. And remember, we'll be taking away 1 inch for the seam allowance. Okay, by the time we take away our seam allowance, this is what we'll have. But we are cutting everything together. We're cutting the whole pocket together, including the seam allowance, because it will be sewn with it. So I will measure what to have here, and I'll use it to cut the fabric for the inner pocket. Okay, so on this side, I have 14 inches, right? So yeah, so I'm using 14 inches. Then on this side, I have about 15 inches. So you need to be sure you have the same thing here. So this side, I'm not following the midpoint. I have to remark. So I can just measure what I have here and determine the midpoint, or 1 inch after the midpoint. Okay, this is the midpoint. So remember, we're taking 1 inch after the midpoint. So that is a mistake I'm making. This is where I'm to mark it from, because like I said, the two pockets will not jam. There have to be a space between the two of them. So this is actually where I'm supposed to mark from. I took 1 inch from the midpoint. So this is actually where the pockets will be coming from. Okay, so let me correct that. So I'm actually marking this deep so that you can see. Okay, but ordinarily you shouldn't mark so deep so that your fabric will not be stained with the chalk, but I'm marking on the wrong side. So that is why I'm doing this, so that it will be clear to you. So this is what I need for the inner pocket. So you can decide to extend it down a little bit. It doesn't matter. This will be inside the dress. Okay, so I can add like half inch. I can add like half inch or 1, because I'll be stitching the pocket. So instead of 14 inches, I will use 15 here. I will use 15. Okay, so altogether what we have is 15 by 13.5. Okay, 15 by 13.5 is what I would mark for the pocket. So have 15 by, that is 15 by 13.5. Okay, that is what I will use. So now I will just keep this aside and fold the fabric I need for the pocket. So now I have folded my fabric to cut for the pocket. So I'm cutting 15 by 13.5. Okay, so I will just measure what I have here. First of all, I will rule out the edge of my fabric so that it can be equal. I'll just rule it out to have an even edge there. So I'll measure what I have here. I need 13.5. So this is 13.5. Then I'll measure 15 inches. There's actually a big pocket. Then on this side, I'll measure 15.5. I mean 13.5. Okay. And I'll connect it. So I'll just connect it. So this is what I need for one pocket. So I'll cut it out, then use it to cut for the other pocket. Okay. So you have to fold to cut for one pocket. So now I'll use this to cut for the other one. So now I have two of these for the pocket. Okay. So I'm marking it to indicate that this is the wrong side. Okay. So after cutting it, now you're going to open it up. Okay, so here is the length and here is the width. So you just open it up like this. Okay, you open it. Now by the time you open it, match up good side to good side. Just match up good side to good side and you spread it open like this. Okay, so just open it up. So by the time you have opened it up like this, okay, you place the two together, good side facing each other. Okay, so just make sure you align it very well. Then you get your main skirt where you have marked out the pockets. You're going to place it on it like this. So I hope you're seeing what I'm doing here. So by the time you place it like this, you just match it up. Okay, so match it up. So this is what I mean by matching it up. Let this edge align with this side of the fabric and let the top here align. So just place it in such a way that it will align here and it will align here like this. Okay, so can you see this? Just match it up here and here. Then when you have done that, you go ahead and cut. Okay, so we are cutting just one side of the pocket with it like this. So you cut. Okay, by the time you have cut this, this is now the pocket. Okay, so you fold. You're folding on the wrong side. That is, you fold it towards the good side like this. Okay, by the time you fold it towards the good side, this one will be for this side. Okay, if you turn it to the right side now. So I just hope I'm not confusing you. Let me take it again. This is the wrong side of our fabric, right? Now I turn it to the good side. Okay, and this is our pocket. This is the good side of our pocket, this is the wrong side of our pocket. So that is why I marked it. Now you're going to turn it towards the good side and align it at the edge here. Once it is aligned here, it will go under the skirt like this. So you just, by the time you are able to match it up here like this, your pocket would sit nicely inside. So I hope you can see this now, and we'll have the pocket here. Okay, so you have the pocket. This is how you would arrange it, and you go ahead and stitch this side, but you'll be stitching it from inside. Okay, you'll be stitching it from inside. That is, you place it this way, you flip the good side of your fabric over the good side facing each other, and you stitch here. So I'll hold it with my pin. So just align it up like this. You pin it so that by the time you stitch it, you then flip it over. So we would not stitch yet. I'm just pinning it because we are going to cut the lace. Okay, like you can see in the design, in the style there, we're going to cut the lace for the facing. So I'm just showing you how you're going to pin it and stitch. Then for this one, you also place it. This is the good side, okay? So this is how I usually arrange it so I won't get confused like this. Then since I'm to stitch here, I'm going to flip the good side facing each other, and I would stitch here. But since I've tackled one side, I'll leave it now and mark out what I need for the facing. So for the facing, I will also turn to the wrong side and mark it there so that you would understand. Okay, so for the facing, at this point I can just measure and see what would be okay if the pocket is getting to this point. So let's say 2.5 or 2 inches would be okay. 2 inches on this side. Then on this side, the height, you can take 2 inches, okay, or let me take 2.5. 2.5. So on each of these curve, I'll mark 2.5. Okay, so this is how it will be. This is how it will be inside. So this is how it will be. So because this is where the pocket will be getting to, and the facing will be here. So I will just cut this on paper, then use it to cut out the lace. Okay. So I can just place my paper like this, making sure I have space under it. So I'll place my paper like this, making sure I have space under it. Okay, then I would mark it like this. So just mark it like this. Okay, and on this side, I'll mark it. On this side, I would mark it. Okay, so by the time I remove my paper, I can even hold it here and mark so that it will be easy for me to connect. But you can still measure it. It doesn't matter. You can still measure 2.5 from every angle of the curve. So this is actually where I have it. Okay, so I hope it's 2.5 I have there. Yes, 2.5. So this is just how I'll go about cutting the facing. Okay, just connecting it. And this is what I need for the facing. So I'll cut it out. Then when I'm cutting on my lace, I will add allowance. I'll add allowance mostly on this side and on this side. Okay, this side is just okay because it is together with here. So I'll add allowance on this side. So let me just do that. Let me do that. You can just add ½ inch at every point. Okay, add ½ inch. So that when I just place this on my fabric, I'll cut exactly what I have. Okay. So you don't want it to be too much. Just so I'll use my paper scissors and cut it. So this is what I need for my facing. I'm going to use this to cut my lace and it would come here like so. Okay, so let me indicate that this is the upper part and this is the side, so that when I cut it, I'll just place it this way so you can see. So let me go ahead and cut the lace so that by the time I arrange everything, it will be clearer to you. Okay, so I have cut it on the lace. Okay, so this is the facing for the pocket. Now let me just arrange it to make everything clear to you. I will remove this one I have placed before, then I will just put the facing first. So this is the good side of the skirt. Okay, now you just take it. So remember, I marked it. This is the side and this is the up. So this is how it's supposed to be. So I'll do that carefully not to miss it. Okay, so I'll just place it this way. Now this is the good side of my lace. So it's going, this one is okay like this, while this one is coming this way. Okay, so you can see it now. So you just take it carefully. So this one is coming here. So this is it. Okay, and this one is here. So now you can just go ahead and stitch it, or you place the pocket and stitch it together. So this side will be stitched first, then I'll now fold this side and top stitch. Okay, so first of all, I'll just pin it. Okay, so it won't move from here. I'll just pin it. So now I have this in place the way it is. I'll get the pocket bag. Okay, so this is the pocket bag. Now I want to explain to you how you would know which side would be on the side you're supposed to be. So this is the wrong side of my pocket. Remember, I spread everything open like this and I cut it with the skirt and I made sure I marked the wrong side. Okay, so now you will turn to the good side of the pocket bag. Turn to the good side of the pocket bag, connect this edge and this edge like this. I just fold. Now you're folding inward. This the good side, you're folding towards the good side and the wrong side is out. Okay, so just once this edge are matching up, you will now place it under your skirt to align this curve to the curve of the pocket like this. And this is how it should be. Can you see that now? This is how it should be. Okay, so and this is the pocket. Now because you'll be joining the skirt and the pocket bag, you have to join here, but you know you're not going to do it this way because this is the right side. So you have to flip over the pocket bag to the skirt like this, so that the good side of the pocket bag will be facing the good side of the skirt, and you will join it here. So you go ahead and stitch. So by the time you have stitched here, you now turn it back inside. Okay, you now turn it back. So let me just stitch here. So I'll take it gradually. By the time I stitch here, I will show you how to arrange it back. So we'll just take it bit by bit like that. So I don't need to show you the stitching because it's not easy moving the camera to the sewing machine area. So let's just pin it. So that's why I usually use pin to show you. The way I pin it is just how I will stitch it. Okay, so I'll go ahead and stitch this part for now. So let me do just that. Okay, so I have stitched it as you can see. Now let's fix the pocket bag well. This is what you do. Turn it over like this. The good side, you fold the good side for the two edge here to meet each other. Okay, just by setting it this way, you have gotten it right. You can even pin it down. Okay, you can pin it down if you want. Just pin it here. By the time you have matched the two lower side of the pocket bag, the good side, oh, you're turning the good side to face each other now. Then you then take it back. You then take it under the skirt. Okay, so you have matched the edges of the pocket now. Just take it back under the skirt like this and align it with the edge of the skirt like this. Okay, so just align it like this and you can pin it down. I just hope you're following. I hope it is clear. Pin it down here and pin this one also to the skirt. So when you have arranged it this way now, you turn it. So you turn it and you have your pocket. So you can see your pocket. Now you would align the top as well. Okay, and you pin it. So all this pattern pinning is for me to stitch it. So you just stitch the top here so that the pocket bag will stay in place, and you stitch this side as well. So let me turn it to the other side so that you see what we have inside. Now this is it inside. This is the pocket bag and you can see the markings I made. The pocket bag is just there. Okay, while the other one would be here. The other pocket bag would be here and this one is here. So now we'll stitch the lower part of the pocket bag here. We'll stitch this part. Remember, we'll be having lining. So if adimi there will not be lining, you stitch this from inside, or you can stitch it then use bias to make it neat. But since I'll be using lining, I will just stitch it and leave it that way. Then the lining will cover it. So the pocket bag will be in between the main fabric and the lining. Okay, and this is it. So take this arrangement seriously, because if you don't arrange it well, you might end up doing it in such a way that the wrong side of this part will be what will be up. So just follow how I have explained it so that at the end the good side of the fabric will be the same with this side. Okay, and this is our pocket. So remember to pin it here and stitch it down. Okay, and this is our pocket. So let me repeat the process here in case it wasn't clear on this side. So this was how we have it. So remember, it's the wrong side. I have stitched it. So remember, anytime you're stitching, depending on the style, the good side facing each other, then you stitch. Now you would turn. This is the wrong side. You now take the good side and match it up. This is the width of the pocket bag, right? So you're folding it inside to in the right part of it, that is in the good part of the fabric, and you pin it here. So by the time you have pinned it here, you will now flip it over to the back of the skirt. So after pinning it there, just you have gotten your rectangular pocket bag, right? So you now take it over to the back of the skirt by just following this. By the time you take it over to the back of the skirt, you would then align this edge of the pocket bag like this. Just align everything, okay, and align it to the skirt as well here. Okay, so you would pin it down. You would pin it down. You just pin it so that it will align back with the skirt at the side. Okay, that is at the side. So now at the back, this is what you would have. Align the top as well. You just make sure you have fixed it well. Then align this top part as well. Okay, by the time you have folded it down on this side, it will help the rest part of the pocket to stay in place, just as you can see. Okay, so you pin it here, which you go ahead and stitch. You stitch it here, so the lining would now finish it up. By the time we sew in lining to finish it up, even at this part too, the lining will take it in. But before you go ahead to stitch here, make sure you have folded your lace facing and top stitch. Okay, so I'll just use pin to hold everything, and I'll go to my sewing machine and stitch all the necessary parts. So before you go ahead and top stitch here and this side, just fold your lace, the edge, and you pin. Okay, so just fold it and you pin it down, but please make sure you're not stitching it to the pocket. Okay, so you can even do that separately before arranging your pocket, because if you go ahead and top stitch now without considering your pocket, you end up stitching on the pocket. So before even folding your pocket like this, you can go ahead and fold your lace and top stitch. So it's just simple, just by folding and you top stitch on it. So you can even hold it down with your pin, so that by the time you get to your sewing machine, it will just be easy. Okay, you just to be easy for you, just follow the pin, and as you're stitching you are removing the pin. So I'll just do that quickly. So like I said, make sure your pocket is out of the way, then you top stitch. So another way of doing it is this: by the time you have placed your facing, you can just stitch your facing to the main pocket, just stitching on it, then you fold this part and top stitch, so that the lace will just stay in place before you go ahead to now sew your pocket. Okay, by the time you sew your pocket, you now arrange it the way I showed you. So I'll go ahead now and top stitch. Don't forget, take your pocket out of the way, because if the pocket is there and you top stitch, you end up stitching the pocket down and nothing will be able to pass. Okay, so let me just do all that, and I'll show you the next thing to do. Okay, so I have top stitched on it. Okay, and I also top stitched on this side. Okay, this side, so that pocket um the pocket bag will not be coming out, just like when you use your lining to turn in something. If you don't handle it well, it will be coming out. So in this case, what I did was to top stitch on this side of the pocket after doing this side, so that it will just lie flat. So make sure you're using a matching color thread. Okay, and I went ahead to stitch this side like I said, and this side as well. So let me turn to the other side, so you see. Let me turn the back. You see what the pocket looks like inside, and I also stitched the pocket here. Okay, so for the neat finishing, you can use bias, and the lining as well will cover it, like I explained. But this is not all. If you notice, the shape of the skirt here is now out of what we created initially. So to get your shape back, just use the back panel, place on it and cut it. Okay, so let me do that. So I hope everything is clear now. I hope you understand it now. Okay, so I'll just fold it this way. So I'll just fold it back. Then I'll get my back panel. So this is the back panel, though I have sewn my lining to it, but I can still use it. So because there's no zipper at the back, I cut the front and the back together, so that the back and front will just be the same. So I'm placing the back on it, and I will use it to shapen out the side. Okay, because the pocket was just four corner like that. So you can shapen it out before cutting your pocket, or you just follow this simple method. It's as simple as this, and you have your back and front being the same. So this is what we have now. Okay, it is just this simple. So by the time you have gotten to this stage, I think everything is done. The next thing is to now use your lining to turn. Okay, so I'll get my lining. Remember, your lining has to be at the good side of the that is, you have to stitch from the good side, then you turn it in, right? So this is my lining, and if you notice, there's no dart because of this type of pocket. There's no darts here. I didn't use that. But if you're going to make a skirt that will have darts, your pocket won't reach here, so you can just mark your pocket somewhere from the side. Okay, after taking your darts, your pocket can now come in after that. So that is just it. So now I'll go ahead and turn with my lining. So let me place it this way so that the chalk mark will go in. So now I would stitch my lining. So I took away 1 inch from the lower part just for neat finishing. So let me just use the back part to explain that, because I believe a lot of you already know that by now. So, but for those that don't know it, after stitching the lower parts to the main dress, I then put the lining up to match it up at the top here, and I stitched the side so that by the time I turn it to the other side, it would be like this. So this is just what it will be. So this one, this installation is for beginners. So let me just go ahead and join the front and the back now. Okay, after sewing my lining to the front just like I did for the back, I would join the back and the front and the top part of it as well. So I'll just finish up everything, and then you see the final look of this dress. Okay, so I know I'm going to do the rest behind camera, but for now let me explain what I'll do. I would fold the lower part. After stitching my lining and everything, I'll fold it, mark the midpoint. By the time I mark the midpoint, I'll also mark the midpoint of this part. So I didn't fix button here because I'll be taking about 1/2 inch, okay, to sew it. So I'll also mark the midpoint of the top, align it here, okay, making sure that the midpoint matches up. Then I'll go ahead and stitch. Okay, so I have not sewn my lining. By the time I sew my lining in, the top part and the lower part would align by the side. So I would now go ahead and join, and our dress will be ready. So let me do just that. Okay.